but it's laid out very nice for them. I mean, this is a team that doesn't need to feel its way. I mean, it's most of these guys, including Hurts, have some experience now, so they can hit the ground running. They got a schedule with Detroit, Washington, Jacksonville. I mean, other than Arizona and Dallas in that first group, they could be, 7-2 and 8-1 when they get to November, and there's a 3-game, a real test is going to be they've had on the road with Indy, Green Bay, and Tennessee. I mean, those 3 games are going to be tough.
Appreciate you streaming on in here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John McMullen and Jody McDonald, Birds 365. Joined by one of our faves from the 33rdteam.com, former Daily News, Eagles beat writer forever, and all-around knowledgeable football guy. And well-dressed guy today, we must add to the list, Paul Domowitch, looking very Andy Reid-like. What had you grabbing that shirt out of the closet today, Domo?
It's going to be a warm week.
Yeah, finally we're here.
You sure about this? Wait a minute. I got 2 weathermen with me. You're sure it's going to be nice? Because every week I thought it was going to be nice so far this year. At some point, the Hawkers come in, and I'm going around picking up downed limbs in my backyard. You're sure? Both you guys are sure it's going to be nice all week?
I'm not going to go John Polaris certainty, but it's going to be pretty nice.
It's going to be high. I think it's supposed to get to 90 by next weekend. So I want to be prepared.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
You need the hand towel, Tom, if you're outside. We all need that. That's
on my shoulder.
Yeah. The trademarked P. Damo hand towel at training camp because it gets hot, Jody.
It does.
Well, Damo doesn't worry about that because in our first segment we were talking about the Eagles working less. Less is more.
That's true.
Eagles.
That was the best part of Nick Sirianni. 90 minutes were off. That was, I'm all for Nick Sirianni scaling back, even though I don't think it's Nick Sirianni scaling back. No matter, I think that's a Howie Roseman, Dr. Arsh denoted decision. How much do you think Nick plays into that, Damo? Because I've yet to beat the football coach that I say it all the time that doesn't want to practice.
Yeah, I think he's just Nick's in his second year. He's agreeable to anything Howie says right now. So, I have mixed feelings about the whole approach of less practice to stay healthy because, you got young guys that really need to learn.
Yeah.
I have going back to just the whole limited OTAs that the union has, got the league to agree to. It's just, it's why we see kind of poor play early on in the season. It's why we see quarterbacks taking longer to kind of progress sometimes. It's just, I even if it means risking injury, I think you got to have guys out in the field. That doesn't mean they have to be hitting each other all the time. But like you don't turn it into a Dick Vermeil training camp practice. But I think you got to get, some of these guys need more time out on the field, learning systems, learning mechanics, learning all that stuff.
Damo, we didn't have you on last week, so we haven't had a chance to comment on the complete Eagles draft. Howie Roseman like things, moving up, moving back, moving around. This year, adding up to less picks, but picks he liked that much better. So certainly a Howie Roseman staple is his fungibility on the draft. Did he play the game well? Did the Eagles end up with enough talent? Signed a lot of undrafted free agents after the draft, and those are truly lottery picks. If 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders are lottery picks, what the hell are undrafted free agents? Give me an evaluation of Howie Roseman's roster building on the draft and thereafter.
Yeah, it's hard not to like it. Sure, you'd like more picks, but they did spend more money on priority free agents, so they kind of countered it with that. But picking up Jordan Davis, we've talked about Jordan Davis for months, and I loved him from the start. I thought he was a guy that they should target. That if he was in their neighborhood, get him at all costs, because I think he's going to be a difference maker, and not just as a big run plugging guy in the middle. I mean, I think this is a guy you can use all over that line. I think we're going to see him. I could see them moving him out in a wide nine in some passing situations just to get that power coming at a tackle or a running back or a tight end. I mean, there's no way you're going to slow him down. And he's he's running. We saw what he ran at the combine, 4.73. So I think he potentially could be a much bigger pass rushing difference in their defense than he was in Georgia, where the emphasis with the linemen was, block, occupy, get out of the way for the linebackers. I think all those guys from Trayvon Walker to Davis, they're all going to have bigger numbers in the NFL than they had as linemen on that Georgia team because of the way they schemed that defense. And AJ Brown, I mean, how can it's a great move. I mean, they gave away a lot of picks for him, but he's given Jalen Hurts another receiver, another difference-making receiver. So, I mean, that offense should be better. Nakobe Dean, I think the reason he fell more is, because of the fact that his career might not be as long because of injuries, as opposed to a guy that's not going to be able to, going to miss games here in the first or second year. I think it's more of a Jeremiah Trotter kind of situation where, knee injuries in the past might shorten his career. So all in all, I love the draft, Howie's draft. Starting with Davis, working on through to Calvin, to the tight end from SMU and some of the priority guys they got. I think it's a pretty solid draft, pretty solid class.
To play devil's advocate, Damo, what about the volume though, especially when you have the holes in the secondary and you mentioned the priority undrafted guys. Now you've been around a long time. Pedigree is a big thing in the NFL. So once you're a draft pick, you're always a draft pick. And, first round guys are expected to perform. We talk about Derek Barnett a lot. If Derek Barnett's a third round pick, nobody has a problem with him. Good rotational player.
Right.
But he was the 14th overall pick. Same thing happens with the back end. Undrafted guys, Mario Goodrich, Josh Jobe, Josh Blackwell. If they're 6th round picks, people look at them a little bit differently. Like they're talking about Tate Gowan. Maybe Tate Gowan's got a chance. He was a 6th round pick. Do we put too much emphasis on pedigree in this league?
Well, I mean, that is a concern, John. I mean, Howie talks up a lot of those guys he traded for last year, late in the season. The Gowans, the McCains,
Terry Vincent.
Maybe one of those guys pans out. I mean, clearly they still have a hole at the other cornerback situation. I don't know if it's somebody on that roster that's going to be capable of filling it, or whether they're going to have to go out and get one like they did with Darby late in camp, late in the preseason. My guess is they're going to have to do that. I'm still not happy with their safety situation. They they weren't able to really bolster that either. But I looked at the draft and looked at when where they were and second round when they traded or when they got Dean in the third round. I mean, you looked and there weren't any corners really that you would have said they should have taken this guy as opposed to Dean. It's still a need, but I don't blame them for not getting one, particularly because I don't know that there was one sitting there when they were drafting.
All right, Damo, need your thoughts on a player that last week when he became officially released. Shoot, I was talking about it here on Birds 365 when he was still with the Giants, when it was just apparent that he was going to be released. A guy that the Eagles should be adding across from Darius Slay, and that's James Bradberry, former Pro Bowl cornerback who was released by New York last week. Pro Football Focus put out a tweet this week comparing the Eagle duo outside of Darius Slay if they added James Bradberry, and Slay replied with the big eagle eyes that he would be quite interested in something like that. I think Bradberry is still a Pro Bowl level cornerback. He had a good year last year in zone coverage, not as good in press coverage, but I think the guy is still a top 10 level quarterback. You don't have guys like this drop into the availability market at this stage of the year. Certain things have to be in place, like the Giants being in very bad cap space. Very little rumors on the Bradbury front 3 or 4 days after he's released. Is that good news or bad news for Eagle fans? If they, like me, want to see Bradbury land here, I'm all for this guy and gung-ho about his potential signing. Are you? Is this a guy the Eagles should be aggressively pursuing?
Well, this is typically a dead period right now because you've had your draft. You want to evaluate the people you took or signed. So it doesn't surprise me that they haven't openly shown any interest in him right now. I think he's a guy they should have some interest in later on, along with it. I don't know who else is going to be available, but certainly a guy that would improve their cornerback situation. So yeah, from that standpoint, I think he's a guy that should be interested.
You bring up the dead period, and you're right, Tomo. I'm just looking at my rookie camp roster, and I'm trying to count up. I think the number was 19 tryout players the Eagles brought in. And, you mentioned you want to see what you have. So we go back to our first question, and I asked Jody this last week. Like, what can tryout players show in this environment? Like, they're not doing anything. So I'm saying, and once in a while these guys show up and do something, and it's a long shot, but you had that ability in the old environment where you can go in and have a rookie camp and say, this guy deserves a chance. And both of us have seen that many times over the years. And for the Eagles, I mean, yeah, it's a dead period, but to Jody's point, you're not going to learn anything about these young players. So you better have a decision made about what you're going to do. And it might not be Bradbury, because I don't think they want to go to 8 figures. And if he gets up in, the 10 million range, okay. But you better have a plan B. Or you think you can learn something about these players.
Well, you got to see if they can sink some free throws on whether, how they are at rock, paper, scissors. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get. No, I mean, really, you're right. That's absolutely. I mean, all you really can gauge from them, having them in camp in these camps as a tryout guy, especially since they're getting virtually no reps, is to see how they picking up the system. Do they look like they're gonna? They're pretty quick at picking up systems. You're basically reading them. I mean, you're not learning anything you didn't already know about their playing ability. So again, that's one of the things that just is very difficult in this new environment of less is more.
All right, Dom, I want to get your take on the Eagles schedule. I know we probably overhype this and over publicize it because, shoot, as soon as the season's over, we know who the Eagles are going to be playing the next year. It's done by a formula. We just don't know the date, the times that the game's going to be played. Well, we got that last week. Some primetime consideration for the Eagles, more so than the previous year. A couple of primetime games, the way the schedule lays out. Early seems relatively easy, which means they can get off to a fast start, unlike last year, which was a slow start, and then came on to be able to make the playoffs and have a winning record. What do you think of the layout of the Eagles schedule?
I think it's very favorable. I mean, like you said, we knew who they were playing. We knew they had, along with the rest of the NFC East, the one of the 4 easiest schedules in the NFL, strength of schedule wise. But it's laid out very nice for them. I mean, this is a team that doesn't need to feel its way. I mean, it's most of these guys, including Hurts, have some experience now, so they can hit the ground running. They got a schedule with Detroit, Washington, Jacksonville. I mean, other than Arizona and Dallas in that first group, they could be, 7-2 and 8-1 when they get to November, and there's a 3 games. A real test is going to be they've had on the road with Indy, Green Bay, and Tennessee. I mean, those 3 games are going to be tough, toughest part of their schedule. other than the Dallas game. So, it lays out really well for them to do what they didn't do last year. I mean, last year they had to play catch up, win at the end. This schedule sets them up to take the lead, gain some confidence, and, have everybody else eat their dust. Whether that happens, I don't know. But, I like their schedule.
Now, Warren Sharp from sharpfootball.com and Peter King had this in his column this morning, Damo. And by the way, Warren has worked for the Eagles as a consultant. So I put that out there. But he came out, he grinded all the work that he does. And he does one of the best jobs when it comes to strength of schedule, because you and I know you can't go on last year's records. Yeah, it's NFC East for a reason, all four of those teams, because they play the same divisions. So that's why they're all clustered. So Warren does a good job with it. So he came up with 21 teams playing either 0 or 1 short week road game, which the NFL tries to do that. The Eagles play 4. Week 3 in Washington, coming off a Monday night home game. Week 9 in Houston on a Thursday night, which is a bad football team, but that's a really bad trip on a Thursday, Damo, to go down to South Texas on a week with no preparation. Week 11 in Indianapolis, when Jody has already made the assumption Nick Foles is going to come back to haunt the Eagles on a Monday night home game. And week 16 in Dallas on a Saturday, which a lot of people have a short week because it's Christmas Eve. And that's the end of a 3-game road trip, which is really difficult for that spot to play your toughest rival and arguably the best team in the division. When you start to unpeel the onion a little bit like Warren did, is it a little bit tougher than maybe it looks at when you just say, oh, this team's bad, this team's bad, this team's bad?
I mean, I guess it makes it more challenging, puts a little bit more pressure on Nick to prepare faster and to come up with a plan for making sure these guys recuperate quicker than they did. But, I mean, everybody's using the same techniques now with regard to recovery, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. They've got a, they're a fairly young team. So, from the standpoint of physical recovery, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I guess it's a little bit more challenging. I don't know what the numbers are on, wins and losses, playing a road game on them after a Monday night. It's not as good as playing on a Sunday, I'm sure, but it still comes down to who you're playing and when you're playing them. So I don't think it changes that much. I still think they've got a pretty good schedule.
And here's the reason why, and I saw that note in Peter King's column, which was attention grabbing. Damn, they got 4, and it's more than half of the league that have none or one. That did kind of jump out. But here's the reason why I don't put too much emphasis on that. Yeah, the Eagles are playing in a shortened week. So is the opposition. It's not like they're on a short week and the other team got 2 extra days rest. No, it's short week for both teams. Anytime you play a short week.
But they're on the road. So he made that, that was the big part of it. Short week road game versus, short week home game. So it's a little bit different.
I still go back to, one of their more memorable wins was that Thursday night Green Bay road win. 2018, was that the year after the Super Bowl? Or anyway,
that was that the infamous, why didn't we pass the ball more? Jeff Lurie to Doug Peterson game that you're referring to?
No, I mean, they ended up winning that game.
Yeah. That was another one, but Jeffrey.
The problem with short weeks is it comes down to specifics and mainly injuries. I mean, if you're a team that's completely healthy, short week is not a problem. It's like a pebble on a highway. If your offensive line has got 3 guys with hamstrings or shoulder problems, then you could use that extra time. So,
or concussion protocols, you get a tough time getting cleared for a Thursday game versus a Sunday game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or even the extra day, Monday versus Sunday. So just a little nugget to throw out there. I do think, Warren does a good job with the strength of schedule stuff. So he tends to uncover these sort of things. And obviously, he has been a consultant to the Eagles. I don't know if he still is. We've had him on the show, Jody. He does a tremendous job. But I did want to bring that up. As a whole, I want to talk about the Cowboys on the schedule, Tomo. I think there's good and bad to it. The bad I kind of mentioned. Late in the season, Christmas Eve, you got to go down to Dallas. And, oh, by the way, it's the third game of a 3-game road trip. Now, the first two aren't that difficult, the Giants and the Bears, who look like two really bad football teams. But still, you don't want to play on the road. And then you have the holiday part thrown in. Nobody's happy except with Jerry's, he's going to put a good spread out, at least for everybody at Dallas. But it's a tough spot. The good part is, and Jody and I have talked about this a lot, too often in recent seasons, late in the year, the Cowboys have played the Eagles, and it hasn't been meaningful because one or the other hasn't needed the game. So at least from that standpoint, it's exciting that we're going to have Cowboys-Eagles football that means something both games this year.
You would hope. You're right about the placement, though. Even the first one, they're playing the first one after a road game in Arizona. So, they need to split. They're not going to win both games against Dallas. They just can't afford to lose both if they're going to actually have a legitimate chance at winning the division. They win that first one. That second one obviously might not mean as much, but it's kind of nice when those games at the end against Dallas mean something. It gets old when they're playing the Giants in Washington for either nothing or because they've got to win 5 in a row to make the playoffs. So
now that's a positive. Conversely, I was going to bring up the Giants as well. The Giants have kind of signaled. The two teams to me in the NFC, Damo, that have signaled we're not ready, we're rebuilding, are the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. And the Eagles have them both. And I mentioned the first 2 legs of that road trip. But they also get the Giants twice late, and I think that's good for this reason. They're going to know they're bad by that point. The players are going to know it. They're going to be more worried about the top 10 pick, the draft picks, than anything else. That helps the Eagles to play those bad NFC teams, and it's helped them the past couple years as well. I think that continues with the Giants, getting the Giants twice relatively late in the season, including week 18.
Yeah. And we never know, like you guys mentioned earlier about the folly of predicting schedules because we have no idea who's going to be good or who's going to be bad. You can't base it on last year. But when you look at even the end of it, we talked about how favorable the beginning is. It's very possible the ending, aside from Dallas. New Orleans could be horrible. That could
although they're getting better.
Don't go there. You're going to end up looking bad like McMullen taking down Mickey Loomis. 9-7, same exact as the Eagles last year. And they've added the Honey Badger and Jarvis Landry. Don't be bad-mouthing the Saints, Tom. You're going to look bad.
I know. I still want to see what happens at quarterback, but you're right.
Oh, you know who might be their quarterback? That Breeze guy. Yeah. He got fired this week by NBC. He's got nothing else to do during the weekends this upcoming fall. He might go back and play some QB for his old team.
They're caught up in the Joe Banner trademark big name trap. That's what Joe calls it. Big name trap. That's what the Saints are caught up in.
I hope Drew comes out of it.
You mean like Von Miller? That acquisition by the Rams this past year? Big name. Oh, that worked okay for them.
Yeah, he was all right. Aaron Donald was a bigger deal.
You're tough, Jody. You're tough.
Yeah. It works occasionally. It works. It worked for the Broncos and Peyton Manning. That worked. Will
it work for Washington?
Yeah. I don't know if it works for Washington.
I think that the OBJ guy played okay for the Rams before he got hurt in the Super Bowl, too. It was another big name addition by the world champion St. Louis Rams.
They wish they were St. Louis, Jody. You gave the St. Louis Rams.
Did I go
love.
St. Louis?
Yeah.
Sorry, Hollywood Rams. Damo, I want to ask you to do something that you haven't been able to do for 30 plus years now. How long you been on the Eagle Beat?
Closer to 40.
40. So that's why I said 30 plus. I was being kind. I didn't put a hard, large second number on that 30 plus. Right. You could wear that shirt rather than be well dressed in the press suite. Just be a fan. Eagles road games this year. I'm going to be a Debbie Downer here. The Eagle fans are going to all get mad at me, but this road schedule that the Eagles have stinks. Mm-hmm. There isn't a good road trip among the Eagles road game. You going to Detroit in September? If you're an Eagle fan, going to shell out to get to Detroit? No. Carson Wentz. You can go down to Washington anytime just to see Carson Wentz. No. Arizona's not a bad game, but if you're going to play Arizona, wouldn't you rather do it in like December when it's already getting cold here to go down there? No, you get that one in early October. Houston, you dying to see the Houston Texans at this stage? Davis Mills. Yeah, let's go down and see Davis Mills. All right, the Colt game, just because Colts again. Indy, don't want to call them the Baltimore Colts. Because Nick Foles may play. Yeah, I like that one. Giants, Chicago, John just wrote them off for the entire season. They're not even trying.
Yeah.
And then Dallas at the end of the year is Christmas Eve. You want to spend Christmas Eve in Dallas? I look at this. When are the Eagles going to take it on the road? They got one of the best traveling fan bases in the entire National Football League. You as the leader of the Eagles road trip, Damo, which game you picking to go to?
Indy.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, Indianapolis is a very, very, very underrated city. I love it. I loved it when they had the Super Bowl there. It was the best Super Bowl that the NFL has ever had, with everything just so close to everything in downtown. Secondly, I think that game could have two of the best teams in the league playing at that point. I think Indianapolis with Matt Ryan is, if they stay healthy, I think that's going to be a very, very good team this year.
I do think Indy's a sneaky contender. The problem is there's so many good teams in the AFC, Damo, that if Indy was in the NFC, I'd be a lot more excited about them. I thought you were going to pick either the Swamp in North Jersey or the Swamp in Maryland, FedEx Field, because who wouldn't want to see FedEx Field? That's exciting. P. Damo. Yeah. That's what I follow Paul on Twitter at P. Damo 3013. He's going to be doing stuff for JAKIB Sports here with us come the season. Excited about that. We're going to announce that soon. His famous stats package for each game. So that's good stuff. You mentioned they're going to be two good teams. How good do you think this team could be for the Eagles? What do you think their ceiling is as a team?
Well, I think there's going to be. I think they potentially could be a 10 or 11 win team. I always have trouble doing the math now with that.
Yeah, 17. Yeah,
right. 11-7 is I think is certainly a possibility. No, wait, no, that's 18.
11. You got to go 11-6. We'll get to 18. We'll get to 18 soon enough, Tom.
Yeah, wishful thinking. I don't know whether they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender yet. Everything hinges on that quarterback. If Jalen Hurts truly makes a major step here, they've given him the weapons. He's going to have one of the best offensive lines in front of him. There are no excuses. we're going to find out about Jalen, and if he's good enough, I think this team could go deep into the playoffs. I don't know if they're, like I said, I don't know that they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender yet, but I think they can make noise in the playoffs. If that offense gels and if Jalen Hurts gels, because I know they've got we've talked about the defensive shortcomings, guys. I think that what they've done with the linebackers is going to make a big difference, and with the edge rusher, with their front four, because I think they've got more flexibility up front now to move all of those guys around and confuse defenses as far as who's coming on rushes and where they're coming from. And I think a big part of those linebackers, the Eagles gave up. I kept track of the how tight ends did against them last year. They gave up 11 touchdowns passes to tight ends. And I think with this group, the speed that it adds, Nakobe Dean's not a great coverage guy. But Kazir White, I think if Davion Taylor stays healthy, I think they'll be better against tight ends. And if the pass rush is better, it can't be any worse. With Jordan Davis and Reddick and the guys they've added, I think they'll be. I could see them being 11 and 16.
Well, I think you guys are underestimating the loss of Zach Pascal elevating the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know how they're going to be able to get along without Zach. But
be careful. Zach already blocked me because of you, Jody. Jody got me blocked by Zach Pascal.
Yeah. Wow.
Sorry, John, and sorry, Zach. Don't care. I have my evaluation of Zach Pascal until he shows up.
By the way, I'm just blaming it on Jody. I have no idea if it was Jody. It was probably me.
I don't. Feel free to drop it in my lap, John, because I don't care. I don't care if Zach Pascal blocked me. I wouldn't know if Zach Pascal blocked me. Don't care. I'm giving you my evaluation of what he does bring to the field. And we'll find out what he does here. It's the Eagles now. At one point, he was their wide receiver 3. Now he's their wide receiver 4. Let me finish there with an A.J. Brown question. Gets the big payday. Happy to be here. And I didn't know this until the Eagles started to pursue him, that he and Jalen Hurts are this tight, that they've been boys for years and that they work out together during the offseason. Now they're working out as teammates. Good for them. The Eagles last year were the most dedicated running team in the National Football League. We believe out of necessity more than actual philosophy, and we think that's going to change this year. Going to throw the ball that much more. Is A.J. Brown going to be happy with his targets? He's coming in here. He's wide receiver 1. We know that, but Devonta Smith is that good, and he may just be able to equal and or surpass an A.J. Brown this year. Dallas Goedert got his payday last year. They're going to want to get him the ball. The Eagles are effective running it. Are they going to have the right balance this year? Do you think Nick Sirianni's got it laid out exactly what is best for him as far as run-pass ratio goes going into the season?
Well, I don't think we're going to see what we saw last year, because I don't think you can win long term and win on a big scale with that heavy a running game. And I don't think it helps Jalen. I think there's going to be more balance. Whether A.J. Brown is happy. You didn't even mention Dallas Goedert or the running backs, which are going to get more throws. But I don't think he's going to make a lot of noise in his first year, especially since he likes the quarterback. So I think Nick's going to find a pretty good balance. I think he's still going to lean heavy on the run. And a guy I really like that I think is going to end up maybe being a factor is a guy they signed as an undrafted free agent, Kennedy Brooks.
Come on, that's your wife, Dombo. That's Oklahoma. She's gotten in your ear. We know that.
Absolutely. But the kids, I watched the kid play a lot. He's a good power back. I mean, he's not particularly fast, but they need somebody with Gainwell and Sanders who's going to get the hard yards inside. So, but to get to your question, I think that they're going to run less, but they'll still be a team that's going to emphasize the run. And how I think he's also going to gauge how Jalen does as far as how comfortable he is with the passing game. I mean, that's why they went into the run game shell last year, because they had to take the pressure off Jalen. He was struggling. So if they come out and he's throwing the ball great and he's hitting these guys that he loves, they'll do more of it. If he's struggling, then they go back to the run game. I think that having the line they do gives them the versatility to do whatever they want to do.
Domo, great stuff. We appreciate it whenever you hop aboard. Feel free to keep that wardrobe coming. Next time we get John, see if he's got another in the Andy Reid collection, since Domo and John both said it's going to be beautiful this week. Over 90 every single
hot.
day.
I don't know, people who don't like
it's
hot.
So beautiful. Yeah, it's going to rain like hell later today, so cover your head.
Domo, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you hopping on board.
Paul